And in this next one, we got a battle of two of the best flyweights in the world between Askar Askarov and Brandon Royval. And this is a fun contrast of styles. We got two guys that couldn't be more different inside the cage and outside the cage, honestly. I mean, we got Askar Askarov, that you see him, his expression never changes all week. The guy's all business. He's in there to do the job. And, he can be pretty funny on Twitter. He could talk shit, and you do see him kind of trying to raise his profile a bit in that way. But during the fight week, he's just real stoic. He has that just classic Russian vibe to him. And then you got Brandon Royval. He's a guy that in the cage is real wild. He goes out there and just tries to make everything super crazy and find a finish. And outside the cage, they call him Raw Dog Brandon Royval, and he is just the same kind of wild personality outside the cage. He's a fun guy to listen to in an interview, and he'll tell you what he thinks and give you some opinions, and pretty fun personality. So it's a fun fight. It's a battle of two guys that, like I said, are very different personality-wise, but inside the cage, when you see them perform, they both get it done. And Askar Askarov inside the cage, I mean, he has that classic Russian style where on the feet, he, stands tall, light on his feet, can bounce in and out, has a nice jab, and kind of has that decent Russian kind of combat sambo boxing style. And then he has really, really elite wrestling, great chain wrestling, incredible cardio. He doesn't slow down. If he can get the back, he has good control from there. And he's also really good off his back. He has a dangerous full guard with a lot of submissions he could throw up. And one thing about Askarov, though, is if you can pressure him, which Brandon Royval is going to pressure him, but the thing about Royval is he going to be able to pressure without getting taken down? That's to be determined. And if you could pressure Askarov without getting taken down, you can start to exploit him a little bit in the striking. He leaves openings, hittable guy. And we've seen guys like Brandon Moreno knock him down with the head kick. We saw in his last fight, Kaikar France start to pressure him after defending some takedowns and dropped Askar Askarov as well. Ended up winning that decision down the stretch. So for Brandon Royval, he's going to have to be more composed in this one and try to control that distance, but keep that effective pressure and strike from range and beat up Askarov. But Askarov, he's going to be doing what he does. He's going to be looking for the takedowns, looking for that control time, looking to get the back and get that body triangle and grind out the clock. And he's going to be looking to find a submission too. I'm sure he's going to be trying to find his first finish in the UFC. And if he can latch onto that neck like we saw other guys do against Brandon Royval, he could make him tap like Alejandro Pantoja did. So it's going to be, Askar Askarov trying to implement his will with the grappling. And Brandon Royval is one of these guys that is all over the place on the feet. I feel like he could be better, but his style also, does lead to finishes, so it's hard to really hate on it. But he is just real wild, doesn't really set things up the greatest, but he has a lot of length and height for the weight, so he'll throw up a lot of knees, a lot of head kicks, and he can get it up to the head very seamlessly. And he also has a lot of really nice spinning attacks. And his boxing and his hands aren't that good, though. I mean, he has an okay jab, but I've never really seen him be able to control the distance with the hands. More of a kick-first type of guy. And he throws a lot of spins and a lot of strikes that get him off balance. And all that kicking, all that spinning and stuff like that does make it easy to take him down. And it's been that way since he's joined the UFC. I mean, you've seen him get taken down multiple times in a ton of fights. And that's where the fun begins, though, with Brandon Royval a lot of the time. He's an incredible scrambler. He can keep scrambling, get you tired. And then once you're tired on the feet, that craziness starts to become way more effective. He could find the chin and knock you out, or he could eventually get into a dominant position on the ground and submit you. So Royval is going to be the guy that's going to be the more likely finisher if he has to get a finish. He also trains out of Colorado at Factory X, so his cardio is also almost impeccable. He doesn't really get tired. But we've seen in multiple fights with Brandon Royval where he gets taken down, he gives his back up, he gets controlled, and he's lucky to have gotten that win over Rogerio Bontorin where he was getting controlled for nearly that entire fight. Obviously, he got submitted by Pantoja. He got finished on the ground against Brandon Moreno, even though that was an injury. I just personally don't see how Brandon Royval is going to somehow in this fight show up and be composed enough to control the distance and not get taken down and not end up in all these scrambles. And I don't see Askar Askarov being one of these guys that Brandon Royval can out-scramble, get tired. I think Askar Askarov is going to be able to hit the takedowns, and win most of those scrambles, or at least keep up in the scramble so he can keep the top position, float on top, and eventually get the back or get into a position where he can control better, win out that round. And I see Askar Askarov getting this win pretty concisively. I think he's going to look like a decent favorite, and I do got to go with Askar Askarov in this fight. I think he's got a good matchup here with the guy that is dangerous. I mean, obviously, Askar's going to have to be very careful about those front knees up the middle, about the head kicks. And if he gets hit with a clean shot, Royval does have a chance to take him out or maybe even hurt him and submit him. But I think more than likely, from what we've seen from both these guys fighting, Askar Askarov is probably going to be able to implement his wrestling, get in dominant positions, and end up winning this fight on the top. So I got to go with Askar Askarov to win this fight by decision.